I'm Kristen.
And I'm Maddie.
We're sisters and heavy readers.
Join us every single week to talk stories, interview authors, and collab with fellow book nerds.
Welcome to the Kristen Mad Show. Welcome back to the show, you guys. Today we have an episode that was highly requested in the comments section of our video where we went over all the books that both Maddie and I loved and rated 5 stars. I think you guys just wanted the tea, or maybe you guys secretly want to see us fight. I don't know. But these are the books that Maddie or I rated really highly, and then they just didn't quite land for the other person. We both have great taste. It goes without saying. But there are times when Maddie will just literally be so feral for a book, and I go in and I'm like, did we read the same thing? And vice versa.
Yes. I think this is true.
And it's always so annoying because we don't like to fight. So we're like, well, I have nice things to say.
We want to give the book like a sympathy star just because the other person liked it so much.
Because we love each other so much. We're like, we can't disagree too strongly. But I would say this list that we're going to give you today is really where you can see like very minor but powerful differences in our taste.
And we want to know in the comments, like, if you can figure out what it is about these books or what it is about our taste that is like slightly off, because I think we're still trying to figure it out. Like, most of the time, if one of us likes a book, we're just recommending it to the other person. Like, we just feel that confident that the other person will love it because we love it.
Yeah.
And most of the time it works out. But like, what is it about these specific books that just like, I don't know if it's that Kristen is a little bit more affected by her mood than I am, and I kind of disregard my mood, or if it's like a specific darkness that I have that I like, or
I would say artsy.
I don't know. I don't know. We are open to you guys' interpretation. You can be our therapist today and let us know what it is about these books that just, for whatever reason, it just doesn't define the other person's taste. I don't know.
Yeah, and I think we're going to start off with like literally the first time I ever felt hurt that Maddie didn't like it as much as me. But I've gotten over it. Okay, I'm an adult. I can handle things. Okay. So the very first book, I read this, The Gray Seer by Kim Leggett. It is a standalone, and it is in the YA area. I read The Gray Seer, and it pulled me out of a slump in the winter. And what I loved about The Gray Seer was it was incredibly fast-paced, and it gave me a little bit of like that Lord of the Flies feeling, or like the Hunger Games. Y'all know I loved the Hunger Games. It is like very important to my like reading journey because I read it so young. And so I'm reading this book. It's so fast-paced. It's very interesting. The end is very like ambiguous. So it was kind of like, ooh, what does the future hold? I could have totally seen a book 2 coming out of it. Perhaps they were even considering that at one point. I haven't like heard any news about it, but I felt immediately like I needed to shove this book in Maddie's face. Like, it's just so dang good. Plus, a couple of our friends online really love it.
Oh, you are not alone. This is in a lot of top 10 lists.
Yes. So I'm giving it a 5 star. I'm like, hell yeah, Maddie, pick this up. And what did you rate her?
I just looked that up while you were talking. I rated The Gray Seer 2 stars.
Guys, it's not even like a 3.5. It's a 2.
I really did not like it. I thought it was poorly executed. But I think we should, for those who do not know what The Gray Seer is about, The Gray Seer is a young adult novel. It is, I would say, you were comping it to like the Hunger Games or something. I don't feel like it's dystopian, but it is kind of, I would say, a little bit more like cultish. The society this girl is in is not like normal society. So during the Gray Seer, all of the women who are coming of age go off to the secret location. The women before them have gone there too, but like the rule of the Gray Seer is no one talks about the Gray Seer. All they know is that when the women come back, they are forever changed. Some of them are like physically
maimed.
Yeah, like they don't look the same, they don't act the same, and nobody talks about it.
And not everybody comes back. So the main character is heading off on her Gray Seer. And so I think that the reason it helps people who are in a slump is that you're hooked right away by this mystery of what is the Gray Seer. And once you get there, it's like, it does feel very Lord of the Flies-ish. It's like, because the women
don't know what to expect and they know that it's going to be difficult to survive. It's like every woman for herself, and it's very like immediately the hierarchy is getting developed, and like who's going to be the alpha and who's going to be on the outskirts.
All on edge.
They're all super stressed and on edge. The elements are really scary. So I think that situation and that mystery keeps people gripped.
Yeah.
And I would say that maybe was the only part of the book that worked for
That's
me.
where the 2 stars came from.
Yeah, I just think that the book felt incredibly predictable to me.
#YA.
Yeah, and I think that the main character was inconsistent and unlikable. And I felt that the plot was too convoluted for the themes to really hit. And then some of the themes were just way too obvious. And then some of the more subtle themes that I liked, which I think pertained to feminism requiring that women
work together.
That is a very powerful theme, but it was kind of lost in the sauce of these other 5 threads going on. So it was like both overly simplistic and obvious and convoluted. And the character was inconsistent and unlikable. So I just really didn't jive with it. It kept feeling like a chore. So sorry.
See, absolute opposite. Like, it was not a chore at all. It was just pleasure. There's like subplot romance. It was like it's obvious. Yes, I agree with you. But for some reason, I love YA, and I don't really mind certain books having like an obvious plot. It kind of just let me have a brain off reading activity. And when you're in a slump and you just are like, I don't feel like working hard is really going to be good for my reading journey right now. I just want to like go in to almost like thriller vibes where I'm just flipping pages super duper fast, which is so sad why it wasn't for you. But then I'm like, yeah, that would totally have taken down my enjoyment. I think that what's so great about the story is in the end, there is some like uncovering that like felt really good to me. And like the family ties by the end of the book. I also feel like because Rachel Gillig is an author I really love, and she also can bring in this kind of like spooky horror element to her like fantasy romance. This book also felt like savage at times, like the way the women are when they're taken to a secluded area and there's so much anxiety pent up for them and there's just so much unknown, which just creates fear and anxiety. It just gets savage. And I think I even like in the beginning in the town, I do love a cult story. I'll tell you right now, there's something to me. Yeah. About like, I can't believe they're going along with this. And it's been going for years. It's because they're secluded. And it's like, there's like this person in charge that you just like hate. And there's just things that feel like injustice. And it just feels like a story I know. It's like comfort. So I still think I would rate it very, very highly. If I was out of a slump and I was reading epics side by side, I think it would be more of a 4-star. But at the time, I'm sticking to it. I believe it was a 5-star.
I love this for you.
I can't believe I defended it. I wanted to say, yes, Maddie, everything you said was correct.
What? No.
I wanted to, but I said the people want to know.
Own
So
your
this
5
is how
stars.
we kind fight. This is us. Maddie, let's get a thumbnail right now, just like we're avatars. And I'm like, you girl, you against me. Okay, next book. What is it?
Okay. So let's talk about The Picture of Dorian Gray.
Whoopsies.
I don't understand. I really don't understand why you didn't like this, because we just started talking about how you love a vibe. And I'm just making sure.
It is a vibe. I think I might like it if it was a great movie adaptation. It's a classic, guys. It's a classic. So it's not simplistic to read. It's not always super blatantly obvious.
It's absolutely not obvious. That's why I love it.
Yes. So, Maddie, why don't you give like a little Dorian Gray premise? The premise is fantastic. Like, I was supposed to love this book.
Literally. For some reason.
Oh my gosh, is that 5 stars? I can see those stars from over here. What the heck? Okay, I'm going to look up my rating. Give them a little premise.
It is rounded up. Okay. So, The Picture of Dorian Gray, I rated a 4.5. It's rounded up to 5 stars on Goodreads. I thought this was excellent. Excellent. I think it's a vibe. I think the themes are layered, nuanced, but very strong. I thought it was sinister and creepy and stylistic, and it had this kind of haunted fantasy element to it, which, of course, as a fantasy reader, I love. And the main character is super unlikable, but it's in this deceptive way that you really see through the course of the novel that he is basically just super easily influenced. That leads to his downfall. And he's also there's tons of things that are awful about him, but it's being explored. It's not like he's an unlikable character doing that you're supposed to like. He's this highly influenced young person who's just stunningly beautiful, and he's caught up in his own vanity and his own delusions of grandeur and this inflated sense of ego, and that's nurtured and coaxed and coddled by this super sinister other character. And it leads to this it would be akin to like body dysmorphia, but rather than dysmorphia, it's like this inflated sense of self, and then it contorts and it gets gruesome and ugly, and he is then hiding it, and then he's wrestling with it in secret. And then the book also just deals with even if he had been beautiful inside and out, which he's not, he's only beautiful on the outside, but even if he had been, it's just this like grappling with what happens with age, not only on the outside to your body, but what happens to your innocence as you age, because not that innocence is the only kind of inner beauty. I think that maturation and becoming more wise can also be beautiful, but there is this like affectedness that happens as you age, and your innocence is lost, and so it's a kind of alteration in your inner self, and that's playing out as well. And so the novel is just kind of investigating all of that from an objective standpoint, but also from an incredibly personal, intimate standpoint as you're looking at Dorian, because he is like this kind of extreme yucky version of what can happen, but it's also like just what happens to everyone. And so I was just like hooked. I was like my brain never stopped working the entire time I was reading the novel.
Okay, so
did I just describe everything you hate about it?
No, because it has such potential for me. I think where it fell flat for me is just a my taste thing, is that it's way less plot and it's way more up in your head, and it's going to ask you questions, and it's going to make you do a little bit of like mental acrobats to just figure out like what is the point here, because it's more of a character study. It's way more like there's not going to be like a whole lot that happens. There was definitely some action in it, but just way more just like long freaking conversations between these men. And I was like, literally don't care. Literally don't care. Like, is anything going to happen in this book? Also, I think I like to read and feel, yes, I can feel intense and I can feel scared, but I need a heavy dose of happiness in my books. And this book really does not have any happiness doses. Like it is grim, and it is for a reason, but it was not like a happy light read. Like, oh, what a time. Like you're going to be like, wow, that was well executed.
It's a cautionary tale.
So
it's a tragedy.
Which is just not my bag. I rated it 3 stars, which does not mean I think it is a bad book. A 3-star means it's probably just not for me, but I think it was well done. It was well done. By the time I was done with it, I was just like glad to be done. Because I just, every time I listened to it too. So I wonder if that also just made it harder for me, because sometimes when a book is really challenging, I do better to physically read.
I also think sometimes it helps enjoy a classic when you understand some of the context in which it was written, so this is written by Oscar Wilde. And there's there are many versions of the novel that are actually censored. So I read the uncensored copy, and just the introduction of that edition where they explain like the whole aspect of this novel that is kind of a homoerotic awakening is really repressed in the censored versions. And I think there's an element of that that's explored too. It's like, I think you just have to be in the mood to read something that is going to make you think about the dark side of our humanity, which is our ego and our vanity and the things that we're ashamed of about ourselves, the things that we have inside of us that we're worried if we explore them or express them or even look at them, it's going to make us unlovable or it's going to make us evil or whatever. And I think there's the main character, Dorian, but there's also the artist. I mean, I was predisposed to like this.
Yeah.
Like,
also, Maddie is an artsy fartsy girl. And I literally look at art and I'm like, cute.
I mean,
like I have a hard time being like,
the artist.
What's the emotion?
But it's so interesting that the artist who paints Dorian in the beginning of the book is so obsessed with the way that he has captured Dorian. And I think that it's a cautionary tale subliminally about how we idolize people, because the artist absolutely is in love with and idolizes Dorian and is just completely obsessed with him. But it's not that he's obsessed with Dorian, the reality of Dorian. It's like he's captured Dorian at a place in time when he is still innocent, and he is imposing everything he loves and idolizes and admires onto him, and then he paints from that place. And so the actual picture of Dorian that he paints is this perfected version of him. It's this like aspirational version of him that's not actually real. And it's interesting that I think we do that with people we admire.
Oh, I was gonna say, I think that people who maybe are famous online, and then they are famous and people are really affirming what they see, this version, how lonely it must feel on the other side to be like, I want to be all the things that people are projecting on me, but they're seeing such a small piece of who I am. And what if they won't like these parts that they can't see? Like kind of that inner conflict. That's how I was looking at it.
I think that's how Dorian feels in the beginning. And then the sinister voice of his friend just like basically convinces him that not only is he all that, he's even more. And that like people should just
dangerous.
see that. Yeah.
Dude, that's dangerous. Maddie, you keep me humble. Keep me humble. I do think that this is a good book. It is a classic that I will keep on my shelves. I hope that my kids someday will pick it up. I might like it better on a reread because I now would go in with completely open expectations and I'll know just what the vibe is. I think it's something that was sold to me maybe as like a classic thriller. And even though there are a couple of thriller elements, which is my favorite parts, it's way more than that. And I would say it's a heavy dose of introspection and commentary. Just so much commentary. And commentary does not give thriller to me.
It's probably worth doing like with a club or with a guide or something that's going to, if you don't want to have to do all the heavy lifting, like it's worth doing it with some kind of a companion that's going to point out what to think about and what to wrestle with as you're reading it.
There's so many people online too. Like we have not done this with Dorian Gray, but there's so many people who specialize in classics and dissecting them. Yeah. And I'm with you, Matt. I think that's the way to do it. Okay, what's next on our list? Is it going to be, I am going to get eaten alive for this one. Jeez.
It's okay. Let's just do Mistborn and get it done.
Well, we can't even say all of Mistborn because book one was phenomenal. What a great time. Fell in love with Brandon. Way to go, sir.
And then you read The Well of Ascension.
Unfortunately, I continued with the trilogy with The Well of Ascension and then
Hero of
Ages. And guys, I could have just been slumping. I don't know. So here's the thing. Brandon Sanderson is like a king of world building. And he really does give you a setting that feels like incredible. It's like Star Wars. Like for some reason, like it's just so well developed and you're like, wow, this is so cool. But I only need so much of that. I'm like, listen, just say it's a desert and it's hot. And I'm like, okay, we're tracking. I do not need like 1,000 descriptive words. So I think that already was difficult for me in Mistborn was just the amount of time that is spent on building up his world. But if that is your bag, you will freaking love it. I think the actual reason why books 2 and 3 weren't awesome for me is they were missing a favorite character of mine from book 1. And all of a sudden, characters I really liked in book 1 got a little annoying to me. So not only was I annoyed, but then we're just building a world and things are taking a really long time and everybody's spread out. And then when they get back together, I was like, huh.
What did you rate The Well of Ascension? I rated it a 3.75. It's not like I thought it was phenomenal.
That makes me feel hella better.
I thought that the characters went down to a 3-star in Well of Ascension because I agree that they became less likable and felt less adult to me, specifically Vin. And then I gave it 5 for setting, which is world building, because I thought that the world building was really cool. Like, I liked the way it expanded.
Yeah, if you like that, you will love that.
Yeah, like I know that some of the characters became, like, Vin and Elen basically really suffered in Well of Ascension. But they introduced Zane, which I thought was cool, and I felt like Sazed had a really good...
Sazed was my dude throughout. He did not bother me. I basically was reading for Sazed after book 1.
Yeah, because he had a really cool, like, we got into, like, the history of his people.
Yeah, which can be fun for a chapter.
You didn't want to do it for a long time.
Oh my gosh. I'm just like, people like this. Okay.
Also,
I rounded up to 4.
Oh, you did? Okay. So we actually do have the same rating of this. You just talk about liking it a lot less than I do.
Here's my thing.
Do you think 4 is actually generous?
I think that, yes, I think it is generous. And I think I inflated it because of how much I liked book 1. And I was still like, okay, maybe it's just that second book slump. And then the third one will just like bring it out of this kind of slog feeling. And then I'll be like, yeah, this is like, I think I was just ready for this trilogy to be like one of my best of all time. And guys, it's like one of those series that's on my like to buy list because I do want it for my shelves. And I think people in my family would enjoy it. I would lend it out to people, but it didn't really get better. I would say it got better than Well of Ascension, but it did not hit Hero of Ages for me.
I gave Hero of Ages 4.75. I thought it was phenomenal.
4.5?
4.75. Almost a perfect rating. Yeah.
Dang.
The only reason it wasn't a perfect 5,
she's like, let me check my paragraphs of notes.
I said the trilogy had some indulgent meandering at times that hurt the pacing, and Vin's and Elen's characters suffered a bit too much from self-doubt.
Isn't it Ellen? That's how the audiobook says.
Oh, I say Ellen, but yeah, okay, Ellen.
Yeah,
I said their characters suffered from a bit too much self-doubt, and I began to disconnect from the original crew as the story progressed. So really, its characters were a 4. Everything else I gave 5, and that's why it was a 4.75. I thought Hero of Ages paid off the trilogy so well. Like all of that work you did in book 2, it felt like it was for a purpose by book 3.
I am so happy for you.
But you love characters, and you felt the characters were done dirty.
I love characters, I love plot, and I love personal enjoyment. Personal enjoyment was so low. Characters got so low. And the freaking, I don't know, the plot just felt like a million roads to like, I'm like, why didn't we just straight shoot this? I guess that's like real life though, right?
Well, I mean, it's so interesting what you're saying versus what I'm saying, like in terms of what the score is, because this, I'm just rereading my review. At the end of Hero of Ages, I said, the slow and forgettable bits will fade and the high impact beats will stick with me. So here at the end, it hit the hardest, and that's what matters. So...
But you were coming off of reading The Stormlight, and I think that you, without meaning to, probably inflate Brandon Sanderson just slightly. Or no, you don't inflate him. He is enough of your bag that stuff that bothers me, like it just is like, oh, whatever. It's just like the froth at the top. It's fine.
Yeah, I mean, I would
and I'm just like, this freaking froth is keeping me from the goods down here. Yeah.
I think that Brandon
and then I'm like, where are the goods? It's all froth. What?
Indulgent. I think he's indulgent. I think he takes too long to get where he's going, and that's the same in Stormlight Archive. But when he gets there, yes, I do think that payoff usually just makes it worth it for me.
Well, let's pray the Stormlight is not this way, because I feel like it is a mountain to climb. Everybody in our family has read it. They're all obsessed. All isn't actually just our brothers are so obsessed, and Maddie's so obsessed that I'm like, okay, listen, I will give it book 1 and I will come in with an open heart, because I really enjoyed Tress of the Emerald Sea, his standalone, and I really enjoyed Yumi and the Nightmare Painter. So, I really loved our first book.
Sacrilegiously, I have told Kristen that I will be satisfied if she just reads The Way of Kings as a standalone.
The things we do for the people we love. Okay, let's move on. I wish I had this sage out, but that would be dangerous with all this equipment right now.
Yeah, well, we just have more negative things to say, so we may as well just get into it. Why don't you go ahead and tell the people why Our Infinite Fates was an Infinity Star book for you?
I don't want to talk about this because I don't want to hear you take it apart.
Oh,
it is so hard for me. But
do you want me to stop?
But listen,
I can just say what I rated it and not say why.
No. No. Okay. Our Infinite Fates came out this year. It was my first book by
Laura Steven.
So I like the book, but obviously I need to get my facts straight. I really loved this book because it reminded me of The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue by V.E. Schwab. Mm-hmm. These books that take space over many, 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 many years, where there's like a time traveling, live forever situation, are just fascinating to me. There's this huge part of my personality that I've learned through reading that just, if you can seep in the right amount of like historic potency into a book, I am just hooked for that alone, which is so weird because with Brandon Sanderson, I don't want to hear about his world, but I love hearing about like our old world so much. So in Our Infinite Fates, we have these characters that are constantly going back and forth in time. And our main character in current day does not want to reach her 18th birthday because in every single life that she has lived, she is murdered by the same person before her 18th birthday. Savage, right? So there you go, a little bit of a thriller element. So she's in current day and she's like, listen, instead of waiting for this guy to come and kill me this time, I'm going to find him first and tell him that he cannot kill me because I'm needed in this life because her sister in this life needs her for medical reasons. Okay. So this is like the setup. But then what happens is you keep being in current day and she's trying to find him and figure out who he is because this person comes about she in many different ways. When you go back through history, it's like she's been all over the globe and lived so many lives and lost so many people. I don't know what it is about that just like literally shakes me. It makes me cry. I just constant heartbreak and her being like, why is my life this way? The only issue I have is towards the end where there's a big twist. The twist started, okay? You get the end of a chapter and it's like, oh, what? And you love it and you're feral for it. And my brain starts like computing all these endings like, oh my God, it's going to be the best ending ever. This is going to happen. Nope, that didn't happen. It was actually a really horrible twist. Peeved me. But we got through it. And then by the very, very end, after the twist sucked, I was like, oh, tears. I get up off the couch. My whole family's around me reading. Nobody is paying attention to me, but tears are just falling to the carpet. I go into the kitchen and I try to make bone broth hot chocolate, crying into my bone broth hot chocolate. I'm like, this was so beautiful. But I literally did what you do in Brandon Sanderson, where you're like, oh, we'll just let the other parts fall away.
Right.
Yeah, the twist sucks, in my opinion. It was not what I wanted. I did not like that.
No.
But the personal enjoyment was so high and my character love was so high and the plot was so to-do. I just think Our Infinite Fates is short and it packs a punch and it is for me.
Yes.
So that's my sales pitch. I don't know if anybody's going to read this after that.
You totally sold me on it. I interrupted my whole TBR and went and bought it immediately. I think the premise is so strong.
I know.
I even think that the characters for a YA novel are fairly intriguing in the sense that they don't feel as juvenile because they've lived all of these lives. And yet where they feel stunted makes sense because they keep having to die at 18. So they never get to explore what it is to be an adult in any of these ways. But I think the hardships they've endured in previous lives have really like hardened them in some ways and developed them in some ways. So the characters were interestingly like more evolved. Mm-hmm. And that was really special to me. But ultimately the twist was, the reason it was bad is because it completely changed the tone of the novel. Yeah. And it was one of those situations where we agree. Like I came up with like 5 better endings for the twist than the twist did.
Yes, I was like, oh, this is gonna land.
When it can't live up to the potential that you, a non-writer, can come up with, like that's frustrating as a reader. I think I'm learning through this conversation that Kristen will rate a book higher that she is enjoying from the jump. And while she will say that most often she doesn't love a book until she gets to 30%, I think when she finds a book that she starts enjoying before that 30% mark and keeps enjoying throughout, and it's never a chore to pick it up, she's going to rate that book highly. For me, if a book doesn't land, it can be work up to 70%, but if it lands, it could still get 5 stars. Yeah. For me, if it does not land, that is going to really hurt a book's rating. If you cannot end a book well, then you may as well not pitch it to me. Like, so I think, honestly, this is the case with Our Infinite Fates and The Grace Year. Like, I'm just like, they fell short of their potential, and I don't care how good. This is just my taste. This is not like a universal fact. It's just for me, if the setup is really promising, but you can't deliver on that promise, then I am left with a really bad taste in my mouth. So I think that's just me. I think that's just my taste. And I think there are plenty of books I recommend to people that feel like such a chore for people while they're reading it, and they don't read as quickly as I do. And so they spend 2 or 3 weeks in this book they're not really having a good time with. And then at the end, it's really, really good. But they're like, yeah, but I mean, it was only good for that part. Like for 3 weeks, it wasn't really that fun. And so they're not having a good time. And I think that's totally fair.
Okay.
It's totally fair.
This contradicts what you said in our last podcast, though. Because remember when you said like all orgasm and no foreplay? It's like you live for the orgasm. I'm like, I live for the foreplay. Like give me like an amazing book. And at the end, I'm like,
no, I hear what you're saying, but for me, it's like that I actually do enjoy the work for the payoff.
Who is she? You know what? There are so many people like Maddie, and this is so great for us to know. I think we're the exact same. I'm like, I need about 80% of it to be epic, and if 20% sucks, I'm like, meh.
I
but
just
if
don't want to be
80% is work and 20%
the whole
is
time. See, I feel like if you're talking about foreplay, I feel like if you're like edging for this whole time, you're like, oh my god, it's so good, oh my god, it's so good, oh my god, and then you don't orgasm, like what?
Okay, this is what happens for me. This is me in Infinite Fates. Okay, we're getting hot and bothered. We're doing all the things. Yeah. It's the best time ever. Yeah. We are ready to go.
Yeah.
And then they want to try like a weird position that you're just like, the hell? And it doesn't feel good. And you're like a turned onness kind of goes down and you're like, okay.
Yeah.
But then let me be a pillow princess, get this done. And I'm like, okay, it was great. Like I just forget it.
Wait, am I ignorant? What the hell is a pillow princess?
It's when you... You guys, she doesn't know.
Educate me.
A pillow princess is a girl who just wants to like lay on her back, get that head on the pillow, let him do all the things, or her.
So you're saying you still got it in the end, which is why you were crying in your cocoa. So like
at the end of it, like, yeah, I was still like, it was good. But there was a moment where I was like, what is this? But there was no consent. What is this?
Yes, for me, they put me in that weird pretzel of a position, and I was like, there's no coming back from this. I have shriveled up to the size of a peanut. I am dry as the desert. It will never happen now. Get out of my room.
You can just have some alone time later and take care of it yourself.
No, it's like, we are never getting back together. Leave the premises.
We never, ever. Okay, I love that we, maybe we should use less sexual scenarios next time. Yeah. Okay. Let's move on to the next book. Just, I wish we had Sage again.
Okay. Kristen just wants to sage the room after every single negativity.
Okay. Let's talk about one. This is
Kristen, I don't know if I can take your negative commentary on this book.
No, because you know what? It's so redemptive. So the book we're wanting to talk about is Assassin's Apprentice by Robin Hobb. It is book 1 in the Farseer series, which is Maddie's favorite series of all time.
The Realm of the Elderlings.
The Realm of the Elderlings. And okay, so Assassin's Apprentice is book 1. And I can tell you right off the bat what was hard for me. I had never read Robin Hobb, so I had no idea how I was going to get on with her. And I think that sometimes that trust that's there with authors that you've already had bangers from just wasn't there. Mm-hmm. And Maddie has given me some books in the past that didn't land. And this was literally coming off of 2 series that I read that didn't land for me. Okay. So I'm already like, all right, Maddie, we'll try this one more time. Turns out it's about like a toddler. I mean,
he's like 6 and he's 18 by like the end of the book.
He's a large toddler. No. Okay. And it is very slow going. However, now what I am telling people, now that I've read books 2 and 3, is that the pace does pick up somewhat. And honestly, when she is slow, it's good. It is not like how it felt for Brandon Sanderson. Every single scene and conversation feels super intentional. And if I could do it again, first of all, I would not read it while in a slog. It's not really like a get you out of a slog type of a book.
True.
Okay. Maddie even says it's not one of the best in her 16-book series.
No, it's not.
It's not. But I would tell people, you are building on something that's going to be amazing. Book 1 is a build. It is foundational. You need to know these characters. You need to know where they came from. And so that when you start blasting into the next books, you have like a deeper appreciation of them because you have their history. It's basically the backstory situation, but it's not like an exciting backstory. Oh, this is where they came from. Like, it's pretty chill. The back 15% of the book is great.
It is.
Like, there is a climax. So that what Maddie's talking about, that build that she likes to like come to these big moment, Robin Hobb does it. And so I think I was just like, that was not my bag. But I have not felt that way about the next 2 books that I read from her.
Yeah. I mean, I rated Assassin's Apprentice, and granted, it's not the highest in her series for me, rating wise,
but did you rate it?
4.5.
Well, the writing is incredible.
And you
are one of the most patient. She reads fast, so she can be patient when things feel a little like there's not like a whole lot going on right now.
Well, I just understand in a book like Assassin's Apprentice, you're picking this up. This is a brand new world. It's not our world. So she's going to have to explain to you, this is the 6 duchies. It's north of Chalced. This is how it works. It's a feudal system. This is the main character Fitz. While he is the son of the heir to the throne, he's a bastard, so he cannot inherit. However, because he is a son of the heir to the throne, he is someone that people would kidnap, maim, kill, hold hostage, like do things in order to threaten the family line. So he needs to be protected. He needs to have a role. He needs to be able to protect himself. And he is a soft energy boy. And he has this taboo magic where he can talk to animals and bond animals. And this is literally like something people will kill you over in this world. They have to set all of that up. And she is a show don't tell writer. So she's just, you're just following this young 6-year-old boy as he comes to court and starts living his life at court. And you're learning that he's in danger. You're learning that he can talk to animals. You're learning that that's a taboo thing, just scene by scene by scene. And I can understand that that's like somewhat slow. But if you, in the context of what you've now read, Kristen, when you go back to book 1, you're like, oh, this is brilliant setup. Like, we need all of this.
It's needed.
We need all of this. And every character is well developed, from like the villainous character to like his mentor character to his like father figure to his friend group. Like, they're all well developed and they're all utilized later. It's not like they just like come in to be utilized in a scene. Like, every character that shows up on the pages of The Realm of the Elderlings ends up getting an arc, ends up having a trajectory. Yeah. And that's what gives the emotional payoff, because you spend so much time with these characters and you know where they've been and you start with them so young. I mean, I think that's why by the end of book 16, when your main character is in his 50s, you feel like you've lived those 50 years with him.
Yeah, and it's been 35,000 years.
It's so long.
But it's worth it.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing that I marked off for the only reason that Assassin's Apprentice wasn't a perfect score for me is because I gave the setting a 4, because it's not the most complicated or overly developed system I had read at that time. And she builds it. I mean, like, the world gets richer and more nuanced the more books you get into. But in that first book, it's not like it's like a super developed magic system. It's actually a very ambiguous magic system. And it's not like you really get the world. It's not like there's like all these different creatures and all these different languages. It's not even like as... It's like hard. Yeah. I mean, like when you compare that to like a Lord of the Rings or something, it's just like, well, this is a very simplistic world. So I didn't give it like infinity stars for setting.
I just know that for anybody who likes series, they're just going to get that off the bat, because I do love series, but I also love standalones. It's like I have to adjust my expectation. And I really wish I had just switched my brain to be like, this is the setup. This is a setup book. There is setup in every one of her books. But I now trust, especially watching Maddie now on her 16-book journey and what it has been like and what these books are rated, that it's almost like when you go on a trip to Europe, there's like a lot of work involved for us and it's definitely not all fun. But then there's like these peak moments when you see beautiful things and you're in these areas, but you go into those trips not saying I'm going on vacation. You're going on a trip. Like you're going to be an explorer. There is discomfort. I need Dramamine. Like there are just things. And I feel like that's how I see a series, a really good series. Is it's like,
I think that's brilliant.
They're going to need some work from me. I'm going to be uncomfortable. I'm not always going to be in the best mood to wake up, jet lagged. But I'm going to do the work. But then it's so worth it. What you see in Europe is not like what I'm going to see in Indiana. It is just different. And so it's worth it to have that type of a trip instead of a vacation.
I love this metaphor because I feel like there are so many books that are literally like walking down the block to get your matcha. And that could be really fun. And
oh my
really
gosh, cozy
satisfying.
fantasy is literally that.
You just walk down. And then there's traveling to Europe. And I just think I'm one of those readers who will totally skip ever going to the corner matcha shop, and I'm just always traveling abroad. That is what I want to be doing with my time.
I like both. So I actually do love a vacation where it's like you're just going to be in your hotel room the whole time, chilling. Like an all-inclusive. Like I don't have to work for my food.
wait.
I don't have to work for anything. But when you have an all-inclusive, you can just like completely relax. Nobody needs anything from you. You don't have to be brain on, where's my train? I need to translate this language. How do I order food here?
So that's like a romantasy for you?
I would say that's like contemporary romance feels like that. Cozy fantasy feels like that. And romantasy definitely can be like that to me. I feel like romantasy sometimes, it just depends on if it's a series or not. But like a standalone fantasy romance is going to feel more like that.
I love this metaphor, Kristen.
Yeah, it's a little bit better than all the sexual ones we've been pulling out. I was about to go there again. I don't know if you could tell that, but I'm glad that I didn't.
And you pivoted? I loved this.
I said, we're an all-inclusive. Okay, so
are you ready to talk about Normal People by Sally Rooney?
Yes. Okay, good news is the show is great.
Kristen wanted to go back and adjust her rating after watching the show.
I rated the book 2 stars.
Unbelievable.
Do you want a heavy dose of depression?
Kristen, it is not a heavy dose of depression.
Are you trying to feel
It's redemptive.
Moody? I could see why maybe you would interpret it that way. I just went into this book thinking, ooh, it's a romance in
my God.
Ireland. Let's go. No.
It is not a romance.
It is not that.
Kristen, what did you give it 2 stars for? Like what earned the 2 stars?
I like the vibes of them going to school in Ireland. There were a couple cheeky scenes. I actually kind of liked the commentary between our 2 main characters most of the time. Guys, I'm just going to be so honest here. Please don't tear me apart. But I don't like being around people who are in a bad mood. And these characters were like in a bad mood the whole time.
Did we read the same book? What are you talking about? Listen, could you not just like appreciate at the bare minimum that Sally Rooney is such an artist?
I read her Beautiful World, Where Are You? And I loved it.
Yeah, her writing style is phenomenal.
Oh, yeah. She's a great writer. So that's probably where the 2 stars came from. Worst time. Personal enjoyment,
God,
0.
I think that Normal People is, I don't know, about normal people. And I don't think that they were
Hashtag bummer people.
No, they were not that much of a bummer.
They were such a bummer.
No.
You guys get in the comments if you read this book. Tell me they are not bummers. When were they not bummers?
I think that in the beginning, Connell is actually completely brought out of his shell and brought to life being with her. I think that she sees him for exactly who he is and wants to see him for more than he's ever been able to show people. And that I think that he doesn't know how to appreciate and nurture her, but he wants to. And she can tell that. And she feels safe with him. And I also think that she learns just like that he is limited and she cannot accept the love he's capable of. that she needs to accept more. But she also then learns that in some ways, while he's not good at articulating his feelings like a normal person, he's not always good at articulating his feelings. He would never hurt her. And there are people who will, and she finds them. And I think that does have to do with...
Of course she finds them. It's called the law of attraction.
Well, she is being abused. So I think that she has to learn... I think she has to learn to accept the love that she would like, and that she needs to learn what she can deserve. It's very Perks of Being a Wallflower-ish. But I agree that the setting was phenomenal. I think that the conversation Sally Rooney writes between the two of them are so real and so raw and so emotionally constipated in the ways that normal conversations are.
Oh my gosh, constipation is a perfect word for it.
They just both struggle to articulate, but I don't think it's from a lack of desire. I don't think they're playing games with each other. I think that's what's so beautiful about it, is that from the get-go, neither of them are playing games. They both really, really want to be unmasked with each other. But there's just like self-delusion in place. There's conditioning in place. There's issues that they have to outgrow and overcome. And I think that while the end of the novel isn't like they have not arrived, they are still in their 20s, for crying out loud.
No closure.
But it's not no closure. It's a trajectory of healing. They're absolutely on a trajectory of healing. They have a breakthrough.
I just feel like it was the longest miscommunication trope I've ever read.
But yes, I know what you're saying.
And I know that that's a part of real life. And I do not mind being around people who are struggling or are in a place where they're feeling stifled, but they want to grow. Like, I do agree with that. I watched the show afterwards, and I will say it deepened my appreciation for the story of these two characters. It was still very hard for me because I'm like, why isn't everybody going to therapy? Why aren't people watching YouTubes and listening to podcasts to get better? Why are they still years later doing the same thing? Like, when do you break the cycle? When do you get on the medication?
I think you will like how Robin Hobb does it better. Yes. There are more redemptive stories.
Don't scare me that any of this is going to be like Robin Hobb, Maddie.
Kristen, Robin Hobb is literally grim, dark tragedy. It is nothing but trauma. Prepare yourself. But it is always about breaking trauma cycles.
Okay, well, growth. I'm about that.
It is very redemptive.
I'm all about the break the chains. Thank you, Red Rising. I'm like, let's do that. But in
my review, I did say there's a lot of silent suffering that gives this piece an overall melancholy, that there are a few other stories in this same vein that they managed to temper that with more humor and absurdity. And I think if there had been more of that in there, Kristen maybe would have liked it better.
Yeah, maybe like laugh at how obnoxious you are being.
But overall, it's just, I just find that there's just like an achingly vulnerable awkwardness to this story that is just, it is difficult to write, and it is such a part of normal human existence that I think it should be celebrated that an author was able to capture that.
Yeah, she slayed that.
And I think that a lot of people feel seen in it. Okay. And it is ultimately a redemptive story. It is a story that makes the reader want them to heal. And that's what matters.
You're not going to get like a mountain peak moment, but you might get like a little hill. Like, you probably can't sled on the hill, but like it's a big enough hill. There is a little bit of an up at the end, but it was so slight, Maddie.
And you long for it the whole time. It's not a story that worships dysfunction. It's not a story that's like, oh, look at these damaged people and let's just like,
which I appreciate,
wallow in the dysfunction. No, it's like, wow, let's have some empathy and sympathy for these people who are trying their best, who have been dealt shitty cards, and let's hope with them for the very best that they're going to overcome this. And let's watch them, claw their way inch by inch out of this. And maybe they won't even get there, but they're trying, and they are making forward progress. And I think the end makes you very hopeful and desirous to see them heal. And it is about healing. Like the focus of the novel is on a redemptive healing arc. It's not like, oh yeah, let's just hope that they just stay shitty. No, that's not what we're worshiping in this novel.
You know that song, like, always look on the bright side of life. Da-dum, da-dum, da-dum. Remember that?
Yep.
Okay. I feel like this book is the opposite foil to that. Like I think that, so some of you guys are gonna eat this up because I know you lit fit girlies are like you like drama, like sadness, dysfunction.
Kristen, yeah. Oh my God.
You will eat this up. I think this book is like, let's just take a minute to look on the more awkward, dark, sad side of life. And yes, we need the yin with our yang. I personally do not go to books for that. So I think we just leave it at that. I'm not saying it's badly written. I love Sally Rooney. She is great. I loved Beautiful World, Where Are You? Which was also a little bit of a downer with a little bit more redemption to it, I would say. And I will read more of her books. I want to read Intermezzo.
Oh, I love Intermezzo.
However, I'm going to go into it when I am ready to feel depressed because I just know she's not going to give me that jolt of like joy. Like that's not coming. And I just know that.
Okay. We'll leave it at that.
Yeah, we'll leave it at that.
Let's talk about Discovery of Witches by Deborah Harkness.
This is why we literally can't do these videos because
this is the only video. This is the only video like this that you guys are ever gonna get where we disagree.
And I will be saging after this and probably taking a shower because I'm stress sweating. Okay, A Discovery of Witches. In my defense, I don't think it's perfect. I read the trilogy in a binge because the vibes were so freaking high in book one. I mean, the vibes are just so incredible. We actually watched episode 1 of the show first, which got me very excited to do the book. And we were doing it as a club. So there's that whole component of like, we're doing it together. And then when I continued the series, I was continuing it with some of the people in our book club. But A Discovery of Witches is like a modern day witches and vampires. It was like one of my first ever vampires, and they're at a college. Is it Harvard?
I think they're at Oxford.
Moody. I read it in the fall, and what's really cool is that there's like basically a war between vampires, and there's just beef, okay, between the vampires and the witches, and somebody discovers they're a witch, hashtag A Discovery of Witches. There ends up being a time travel component. There also is lots of history, which I love, as the time travel happens. And it was a vibe. I feel like if you like Scottish man, red hair, Outlander.
Jamie Fraser.
If you liked Outlander, which I did like book 1 for the most part, I think you would vibe with this. It's going to be the same kind of thing. Okay. So Maddie DNF'd. I enjoyed it.
I gave the first book 2.75 stars.
Oh my gosh.
And I did DNF the second book. I think that I'm just looking at my ratings now, though. I did give the setting 5 stars, which Kristen is saying is one of her favorite parts. So
the setting really was interesting. Great. The love story was...
I gave emotional impact 1 star. Like, I felt 0 invested in this story. Like, I could not get myself to care for the life of me.
Yeah, the emotional was low. I would say it's vibe. And then by the time you get in the second and third book, Maddie, it's actually, I was reading for the plot because actually it kind of gets really good.
I mean, I think that the romance is abysmal. And that's a pretty prevalent part of the plot.
And it was set up so well. Give me a witch and a vamp.
Yeah. And then I gave the themes a 2. I thought there was actually bad themes in this book that I was just like, wait, what are we doing? Why are we doing that?
You do read so heavily for themes, so that probably brings down your enjoyment.
But yeah, I'm just like, wait, are we teaching actually destructive life lessons in this book? I don't know about this. I think this is pretty crappy.
I just think if somebody picked this up in the fall and you're reading for plot and vibes, it's going to get you there. I tried Her Majesty's Royal Coven recently and I DNF'd it because I was like, Discovery of Witches did this better.
Yeah, that I could see where things like this, it probably is good for things like this.
Yes. Yeah. If you want to have multiple creatures and you want to have
like an urban fantasy.
And there's a big plot outside of it. So in the first book, you kind of focus on what Maddie didn't like. A lot less the big mega plot, and it's just a romance that's not that good.
It's like faction politics.
Yeah, but once you get into the other ones, yes, you're going to have so many new characters, you're having different POVs, and you're going to different places. And I was reading it for the vibes. I did DNF the series because once I was done with the book, I was like, I don't think I need to see this play out, but I got what I wanted.
You finished the trilogy. You just haven't gone onto the others. Is that what you're saying?
No, I finished the books trilogy. I did not finish the TV adaptation.
Okay.
I DNF'd the adaptation after
the TV show.
I tried getting into season 2 and I was like, you know what? I actually think the book is giving me what I need. I love the vibes. Like, honestly, it was giving Edward Cullen with the vampires. I feel like they did us dirty. They cast him incorrectly.
Yeah.
Like, don't give me these eyes. Why do vampires have to have these, like...
Because they kind of want to eat you.
Like, not in a good way.
Cannibalism is absolutely part of vampire lore. It just is. It just is what it is.
If you want to read a really good vampire, A Dowry of Blood by S.T. Gibson, impeccable.
Just slide that in there. Just a little wreck.
I'm just saying, so good vampire.
We have one left. Can you guys handle one more?
I just don't know. I don't want to talk about it because I love her so much. It's not my fault.
This is a perfect example of how you can love an author, and that doesn't mean every single book they write is going to be for you. And especially with an author that is bold and artistic and is experimental and trying things, which is what we want our authors to do.
Right.
We want our artists to be brave. If they're being brave, then not everything they do is going to hit for you. There's going to be stuff that's just too out there for you or just isn't the thing that you love. And that's okay. So no shade to this author.
Never.
Ever. We're going to talk about One for My Enemy by Olivia Blake, which...
Oh, Blakey.
I rated very highly. It was the first ever Olivia Blake book I read. I was obsessed with the prose. I love her structure. I love how she wrote it like a Shakespearean play because she was taking inspiration from Shakespeare's Romeo and Juliet.
Cute.
I love that it was rivaling witch families in New York. I loved that there was a double couple situation happening and that I literally could not predict what was going to happen, even though I knew the source material very well. And I found it was just like aching. I found that the romance was just like beautifully tragic in the tone of Romeo and Juliet, but not as like simplistic and depressing and like in Romeo and Juliet, you get this idea of more of like obsession and that it's not like this like grounded love. And you don't really explore as much unless like you're in a class that's exploring this. Like you don't explore how the love between Romeo and Juliet is actually like a metaphor for forgiveness and that all that's really needed between like that what is inherent in rivalry is a sort of obsession and love, and that when you're that focused on a particular nemesis, it's very similar to love, that kind of passion. And that's more explored in Olivia's book. This very thin line between hatred and love and between obsession and rivalry. And I just thought it was done so beautifully. I have very little qualm with it. I think I probably didn't rate it a 5-star only because of its scope. I just tend to really, really, really like epic scope, and this is a more intimate story. But I thought it was brilliant, and Kristen did not love it.
Well, I did not even put my rating in on Goodreads, so maybe we'll just do my rating right quickity. But the average is 3.71, which I would say is probably close to what my rating would be because it is not bad. There's nothing bad about it. It's just not transcendent like a 5-star. So I believe it was possibly sold to me
as a more
romantic than it was. I also think that if you aren't obsessed with like this Shakespearean vibe, which I'm not, okay, like there's a time and a place. I don't really need to read Shakespeare right now in my life. It just wasn't really for me. There were definitely scenes that I liked and I giggled at, or I felt like, ooh, this is exciting. But there were way more moments where I was just like, okay, come on again. Like, we're just going to keep stabbing each other in the back about, nobody is dead, even though they've been killed.
Did you read Romeo and Juliet?
Yes. And I didn't like it.
Okay.
Well, I didn't like it. It's just like he said, she said, he stabbed, she stabbed. Now I'm hurt. My feelings. Now I love you and I hate you. And I was just like, okay, well, that was fine. That was fine. It had some fine moments. If you want like this is just like, it's just not my style is what it is. And so much of all of these work has been straight my style. And I came off of things like Masters of Death and her
One for My Enemy.
What was the other one that I did that I really liked? Her short stories.
January's.
January's. Yeah. Honestly, Alone with You in the Ether. Like I really like her work. And then I was like,
okay, One for My Enemy has little to none of Olivia's humor. and wit, which
is my favorite.
Olive is hilarious, and she's very witty, and she just didn't lean into that as much in One for My Enemy. It's a more serious story. So I think that it's possible that, and Olive is dark. I mean, I would say Olive is dark humor.
I'm okay with the dark. That's fine.
But
I can
you
handle
like
some
dark humor.
But it's like if people are sarcastic or if they like, have humor, it kind of like lightens the load a little bit. And yes, this book I think was just missing that humor piece. And I also think I did the whole thing on audio, and the audio wasn't as epic as her other audios. Like some of her audiobooks are so amazing. Yeah. And this one I was just like, wow. Okay, like we don't have a full cast again. Like it was just very different.
In my review, I guess my only criticism was that the magic system felt subordinate and wasn't very clearly explained. And I have seen that as a criticism of other people, that there's this aspect at the end of the plot where it's like, wait, what happened? Like, how is that possible?
Yeah.
I guess magic. Okay.
I guess magic.
But I would say that is pretty consistent in Olive's work, that the magic aspects of her stories it's a very soft magic system. It's not usually super detailed or explained, and it's kind of just like you're going with the themes and her plot and her overarching fairy tale. You're not really like focused on like, does that scientifically work? Like that's just not how her magic systems are.
If I get confused, my enjoyment goes down.
That's fair.
So whenever, it doesn't matter what the book is, but as soon as I'm just like, I'm sorry, what? And I don't feel like I missed something, but I'm like, I had to have missed something. I hate that feeling.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, oh my gosh, the anxiety. I'm not going to enjoy this book because I don't actually know what's happening. That happened multiple times in that book. I am so sorry. But we love Olivia Blake. We recommend her. Also, I hope One for My Enemy ends up being so good for you.
I feel like, in case it is not abundantly clear, this is very out of our comfort zone for either one of us to spend any amount of time talking or spending too much time talking about something that didn't work for us, because there's so much that does work, and vast majority, 97% of the things that we both read, we both love.
Yeah, this is rare. It was hard to come up with this list.
It literally was. And we've been reading heavily, both of us, like 100 books a year for like 3 years now. So to come up with, 8 or something books?
Yeah, it was not that many, to be honest.
And even so, like, we probably couldn't come up with an episode of things we both hate, to be honest.
Yeah,
like,
just 8. And I had to fight for them.
We just really don't even usually finish books we don't like. So.
Yeah, and you know what? We also think it's so funny when we both dislike the same book. Like in our Venn diagram where we overlap on books we like and hate, there's like so much space. Like we really do have such similar taste. And even like a book that's really good, I feel like is going to be hopefully a 5-star in every category. So Maddie has categories she really leans heavily on, and there's categories that I really, rate and rely heavily on. But when it's just a great book all around, like we both get this like amazing sense of it being a 5-star and infinity star. Yeah. So it's interesting when if a book drops too low in Maddie's categories, or if it drops too low in my favorite categories.
We're struggling.
That's where the issues are. But it's like this very, very small outer layer in the Venn diagram that there's a lot of center love going on.
So hopefully this episode gave you immense permission to feel however you feel about a book, whether other people love it or hate it. If someone you really respect really loves a book and you don't, that's okay. Or if you really, really love something and someone you really respect doesn't, that doesn't mean you're wrong. It just means wonderfully that we all have different taste, if that isn't already abundantly clear. So thank you guys so much for hanging out with us today. If you're listening to this episode in a place where you can rate and review us, that really helps. And if you're watching on YouTube, of course, we love it when you like, subscribe, and leave us some comments. Obviously, on this episode, we're just looking for your insights. Maybe you've read some of these books. What did you rate them? Or do you have any insights into Kristen and I and why perhaps there are just these weird outliers where we don't agree? We are so grateful you guys hung out with us today, and we will see you guys in the next episode. Bye.